Now we actually want to understand what a strategy does. We know this is an outlier strategy, but why is it? So if you click on this icon here and then click download, you can download the entire CSV. You can paste it into Claude and you can ask, hi, Claude, could you clearly explain what the strategy does, why it's executing when it's executing, and why it was so profitable, in what environment was it profitable, and what does the data in sample and out of sample tell me about how this might behave in the future, and how would you improve it? Because as I said before, the goal is understanding how these things actually work in practice. And I can pick any one of these strategies and backtest it on TradingView. But what I'm also doing is I'm using Claude as a companion to modify the Pine script to change or slightly tweak certain parameters, keeping the framework, but tweaking the stop loss, how it actually executes on certain candles, and any variables which can actually impact compounding over time. It's a classic Donchian channel breakout, total style momentum on ETH 4-hour candles. When a bar closes above the highest high of a previous 38 bars, it buys at the next open. This is interesting because a lot of you guys probably trade similarly. Like even if you're a discretionary trader, right? Something you probably do is look at like some sort of strategy where you identify like the prior high and then you wait for like a close above and then you're long. This is executing a similar thing, but obviously the parameters you can't, this is like classic momentum trading or breakout trading, but the parameter that you could adjust are the parameters around the high, because this is 38 bars, 6.3 days. If you're executing on a lower time frame, you might literally look at like 1 day and you could play around with that and see what the results are like. Like you could ask Claude to keep adjusting based on different time frames and get it to see which specific entry triggers tweak or improve the odds, but you got to make sure it doesn't impact your Sharpe ratio too much, your risk adjusted returns, which are really important. This is important. Why was it so profitable? The edge is thin and the compounding is heavy, with wins averaging 5.72% and losses 3.13% net. The break-even win rate is 35.4%. Realized win rate 41.3%. That gap is the entire edge. Compounded 758 times, which is how many trades it took. At full equity, it becomes 24.9x. Two structural facts worth mentioning: the winners are uniform, not fat-tailed. The 6% cap truncates every winner to the same size, and the shorts are the engine. Crypto crashes are faster and cleaner than rallies. Down moves reach 6% before bouncing 3% far more reliably than rallies do to the mirror image. So that's one of the reasons why the strategy maintained profitability in the downtrend. That was one of the questions that I asked before. How Claude would improve it. And this is the next step that I want to get you guys used to doing when you are creating your own strategies. You want to look for ways to improve. And don't just rely on Claude. Use critical thinking around how you think about the market. But these are some good tips. Parameter sensitivity map. As I said before, you can test multiple variables. Walk forward plus cross assets. So you could refit on different windows, on different asset classes. And, if it's only working on Ethereum and no other asset, that's probably, a worse sign than if it is working on multiple assets. Typically with the strategy, you want to look for, in similar asset types, performance over similar regimes. So periods of bullishness, bearishness, or sideways periods in the market. Because if it's only working on one specific asset, then that is a signal that it's just overfit towards that asset specifically, and it's not applying to the general trend that you're trying to capture. And probably one that's very important is number 6 here, sizing below 100%. So this is running an example on full equity sizing. Obviously, you want to have a max limit per trade, which is going to change the numbers significantly. You would never be going, all in on a trade, or, using even linear amounts on a trade. This is why we're building the blocks on the channel, because that video talks about sizing, and sizing is like one of the most important, if not the most important parts of trading, because in a highly volatile period, you might want to take on less risk. Like maybe you wouldn't match the same size if price is just wicking up and down. So you want to understand what period, what regime you're in. That's why we came up with the violence indicator in this video. And based on that regime, it'll impact your position sizing. The limitation to backtesting like this is it doesn't show what you would have done in terms of sizing in each environment. So you could actually do a multi-stack strategy where you use the Garch method or a volatility method in order to limit downside risk whilst applying the new strategy that you're trying to test. I know that's kind of getting complex, but it makes sense if you watch all of my videos, because I want you guys to have a full understanding of how AI trading actually works. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. I've got some bangers coming soon, so make sure to turn on notifications. We're going to start doing a lot of live tests now, because I'm going through the theory, but I also want you to see how I actually execute in real time. I've got a $20,000 challenge that we're doing, all sorts of cool methodologies around AI scraping to find alpha. It's going to be awesome. See you in the next video. Peace out.